Dear family, on behalf of Petra Church, may the Lord bless you with divine grace and great blessing, both to you and to your loved ones. And using the Chinese words to greet everybody, 新年蒙恩，爱主更深，年年纳福. I believe in this new year, God going to give us a new visions, a new hope, and a new life from which we are to live in it. So the New Year message for the year is about the culture of blessing. Culture essentially is the way we perceive ourselves and the life we live. It is how we make it, how we shape it. It is a lens from which we look into life. Culture is an abstract, shared, learned rules and standard from which it generates behavior and understanding our experiences. Everybody wants blessing. We see everywhere during Chinese New Year the word "fu" in the home, in the streets, on the tablets, on the Facebook, everywhere. And in fact, the Chinese have the whole idea about 道福 and 福道 is to signify the arrival of blessing in the new year. What does God say about blessing in the Bible? In fact, from Genesis to Revelations, the entire Bible talk about blessing. In fact, it is about God who wants to bless you and I. Do you know the Chinese character "fu" or blessing carry much a deeper significance? Allow me to share this with you. Firstly, blessing comes from God. Genesis 1 verse 28 tells us, God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground." As from this verse, you can see there's God, there's man, and there's land. In fact, the Chinese character "fu" or the stroke on the left give us the idea of the word God, Shen, and the strokes of the character of "fu" on the right give us an idea of the land, Yi Kou Tian. And to put the two together, these characters of "fu" tells us of what exactly happens in Genesis chapter 1, that God made man and he placed them in the land and God blessed them. In summary, the word "fu" tells us of a simple truth, that blessing comes from God. Number 2, blessing is to be received in complete surrendering. In Hebrew, the word blessing carries the idea of kneeling. The Hebrew words for blessing is barak, and it carries the idea of bless and at the same time kneeling. And to put the words into the scriptures, when God blessed, it is when God kneeled. It is God, the creator of life and everything, make his first choice and first move by coming down and lowering himself to bless mankind. And so in the same way, likewise in receiving blessing, man should come before God on bended knees, in complete surrendering, to receive all the goodness that he will pour into our life, recognizing that he is the creator God, he is in total control. Psalm 95 verse 6 wrote, "Oh, come, let us worship and bow down, let us kneel before the Lord our Maker." And in other words, he says, let us barak before our Lord, our God, our Maker. So I pray in the new year, as the Lord download new visions to you, it is that you and I should barak ourselves, to kneel ourselves before the Lord and our Maker, in reverent awe and in complete trust and obedience to what God will bless us and give unto us this year. Finally, blessing is to reflect God's goodness and glory. Psalm 67 verses 1 and 2. May God be gracious to us and bless us and make his face shine on us, so that your ways may be known on earth, your salvation among all nations. There was a point in my life that I live as if I'm in the wilderness, living day by day, moment by moment, wondering what good will come next. Growing up in the place where I live in a one room and one hall, living from hand to mouth, and really had to count the cents to make sure that I would have enough. And there were days that my parents would not have enough to give us or to feed us. And there was once, for 3 days, my parents went missing. And my sister and I had to scavenge around the house for whatever we could eat to last us for the 3 days. Yet again, I ask questions like many of us. Questions like, who is God? Where is God? And how God is going to bless me? How God's going to take me out of the situation I'm in? And now, looking back, I can confidently declare to you that every good promises of God has come to pass, and He has never failed me. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Him who strengthens me, whether in need or in plenty. And I have experienced the goodness of God in my life. How God took my family out of a rental home to a HDB, and from which I am able to sell it and purchase a flat for my parents, fully paid off. And looking back on the relationship that my parents and I has improved tremendously, and praise be to God, over the years of praying for them, sharing with them, loving them in practical way, my parents after 15 and 20 years came to the Lord. And looking back at those dysfunctional, strained relationships, it was long gone and past and forgotten. All I have is parents who love God and love me and love each other. And most of all, I could have never imagined that I would have a family of my own, a wife, children, and from which I enjoy the life that God has promised, the fullness of life, the fullness of joy and love, from which I thank God day after day that indeed every good promises of God has come to pass. The visions of Petra is that we as a family of God that will raise sons and daughters that will reflect the Father's glory. How does it look like to reflect the Father's glory? I've seen many people, and especially some Christians, who live life year after year, month after month, day after day, as if it is living in the wilderness. Living in the wilderness means we live just enough. We live just to survive yet another day. But if you and I are God's called people to be a blessed people, you and I don't live day by day, just enough for another day. Because the Lord of blessing, of all blessing, will bless us in ways we could never imagine. We'll find the peace, we find resources, we find connection, we find assignment in which the Lord sends us. And there is a sense of life and living the life as what the Bible has for us. One good person that you and I could learn from the Bible is the man and the father of faith, Abraham. And when God called Abraham out of the land of Ur, God called him by declaring who he is. And in declaring who he is, the Lord tells Abraham to trust him. Even though God never tells him exactly where to go, but every step is charted by God. And every step, it demands Abraham to walk in complete obedience and surrendering. And as Abraham walked each step and each way in that manner, Abraham began to prosper as he walked in faith and obedience. And even though Abraham didn't receive it immediately, he has to wait for it 25 years. But the thing is, Abraham received the full promises of God. And therefore, he became to you and I the father of faith, one who trusted God at his word. So I believe in this new year that to understand that blessing comes from God, and that you and I has to receive it with complete surrendering, and the ultimate goal of being God's blessed people is to reflect the goodness and the glory of God. And I want to challenge everyone else to step into the new year trusting completely what God's going to do in and through you, so that through each of your life, that God's glory reflects. Trust and believe that the Lord is going to bless you in all measure. Believing in supernatural health for you, believing that God will bless you financially, believing that the Lord will bless your relationships, believing that the Lord will bless in anything you put your hands into, and you will cause it to prosper, and that you will be a blessing unto others, and such will bring God's the glory. I believe everyone here gathered together under one roof, as family, as friends and relatives, celebrating Chinese New Year together. Why not we take this opportunity as we gather together under one roof, as family, as friends, as relatives, and bless one another. And so I believe you have with you at your gathering a Chinese New Year ang pao from the church, and indeed contain the blessing card. And what we can do by beginning the year is to declare God's blessing upon one another, and believing so that what is being declared over us will come to pass. And as we step into the new year, and we have all those blessings being realized and actualized, I want to encourage us at the same time to share those testimonies of blessing that have come upon you and your households and your workplace. And so in that sense, as you declare the actual blessing that comes, you declare the glory of God and His blessing over you. So in closing, may the Lord bless you richly and abundantly. May the Lord bless Elohim Barak, the God who knelt to bless and pour out His richness of blessing upon every one of you, so that you may live this 2020 in that fullness of life and the fullness of joy and the fullness of blessing that He has for you.